As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized SEMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study Exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Good evening, professional colleagues. Good evening, friends of chartered accountant. Good evening, students. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My pleasure to welcome you once again to another edition of ICAN on Air, powered by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Let me first start by congratulating and greeting all our Muslim faithful. The 58th president of our great institute sent his greeting out to all our Muslim faithful, and I trust that we are all enjoying the holiday given to us by the federal government, and also for those of us in Lagos State enjoying the cool weather that the season has actually brought to us. Once again, welcome to this Tuesday edition of ICAN on Air. Today, 12th day of the month of July 2022. I believe that the previous episode has been a very educative, insightful, and very knowledge enriching to every one of us. And I promise you that today we have brought another topic that will definitely contribute to the bottom line. I'm sure some of you must have been looking at that we seems to be moving in the area of revenue generation. Yes, because it's critical at this point where we are. And today, we have a topic on state tax administration, opportunities for chartered accountants. And I will be guesting no other person than a seasoned and an erudite scholar in person of Mr. Bicci Alli FCA. Who is he? He is a seasoned business administrator, an accountant par excellence, a tax administrator, and a tax practitioner who over the years has proved his worth as what we should call a seasoned person. He started his career with the Lagos Civil Service Commission in 1988 and moved to the Lagos State Internal Revenue Services in 2008. He is an highly experienced public sector person, specifically in revenue administration. And he has over 15 years of his stay with the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, where he left in 2015. Because of his skills and expertise, he was invited by His Excellency, the Governor of Oyo State, then Senator Abiola Ajumobi of blessed memory, to head the Oyo State Board of Internal Revenue. And when he got there, he did what he knows how to do best by increasing the monthly IGR of that state by 107% on monthly basis between October 2015 and December 2016, cumulating into 1,181%. He was also invited by Osun State government to do similar thing. So he's an experienced person when it comes to revenue administration. He is a fellow of our great institute, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, and the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He has served on several committees of the Joint Tax Board, and to his credit, he has presented over 50 papers on tax policy, tax law, and tax administration. This is our guest for today, and I'm sure you are prepared to learn some of the opportunity as chartered accountant, even in the state tax administration. In no distance time, I will be bringing in our guest, but let me quickly go on a short break, and I will be back to have our guest on. Be right there. Welcome back to the Tuesday edition of the ICAN on air. And like I earlier said, today we will be discussing on the state tax administration opportunity for accountant. And I have with me today in the studio, ICAN studio, no other person than Mr. Bicci Alli FCA. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, presenter. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure being on your program.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Without wasting our time, we'll hit the ball rolling. And let me start, sir, that with the topic we have before us today, can you please educate our viewers what is tax administration?
Well, thank you very much, moderator. Government has various sources of revenue. Taxation is one of them. Government can sell natural products and make some money from the sale of natural products. Government can borrow money. Government can also engage in business in order to raise money. So there are so many ways by which government can raise revenue. But the most sustainable one that is highly dependable is taxation. And everybody knows we are chartered accountants, and some of our friends that are not chartered accountants that are linked to this knows that tax is a compulsory levy that is imposed on an individual or a corporate entity by the government in order to meet various objectives. One of which, principal of which, is to raise money to finance government projects. There are so many reasons why taxes are imposed, but basically, as we are discussing revenue, the focus is to raise money to finance government projects. It could be to reduce inflation, it could be to encourage consumption, it could be to discourage consumption. But as we are discussing this topic, the focus here is to raise revenue. And out of all the various means of revenue belonging to the government, be it federal, state, or local government, the most sustainable, okay, the one that one can really rely on is taxation. So when we talk about tax administration, by extension, we are talking about the processes of raising revenue, a sustainable revenue for governments, by which we have compulsory levy and payments by individuals or corporate entities aim at raising revenue from governments. So the administration includes okay.
Go ahead, sir.
So
Go ahead, sir.
Basically, that is what is called tax administration, from the legislation, putting in place processes to collect the money, as well as processes to account for the money. It's like, yes, it's beginning to the end. It's a process, and for which various stakeholders are involved. It's not only tax accountants that are involved in tax administration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bicci Ali. What a very wonderful way to simplify tax administration. There are various ways that the government can generate revenue, but you said one thing that is very key: the most sustainable and guaranteed way of generating revenue is via taxation. And there are legislation, there are processes that is expected of the government to get this. I'll move straight to the second question that I'll put across to you, sir. Uh, we all know, most people on this platform know, at least I'm a witness. I've seen you on different fora speak about issue of tax administration. So we know that you are veteran of state tax administration, having been an important hand in the transformation of the Lagos State tax revolution during the chairmanship of Mr. Babatunde Fowler. And with your transfer to your state, you replicate the same, doing outstandingly well when the governor beckoned on you to come and head the tax administration, even in your state. Please, sir, can you educate our viewers? What does it take to run a successful state revenue service?
Well, thank you. Mod- the first factor that is important is the leadership. Usually, the leadership, as in the chief executive of the state. So the governor must have the political will to do the right thing. That's number one. Number two, the governor must also be willing to give revenue board and the process itself uh, absolute autonomy. There should be no political interference in the collection process, in the tax administration process. What we have in most of the states has more to do with the governments not allowing the process to take place normally. There are a lot of interference from the appointment of the chairman to the appointment of some of the staff in the board, and influencing the way and manner the board operates. That's a major problem. So you have to start with that. The governor must be willing to, to bite the bullet, must be willing to take painful decisions with respect to revenue. Revenue is just like pulling the air from somebody's nose. So it's not going to be easy. And if you are the chief executive, because everything starts and stops at the table of the chief executive, so that is very critical. If you don't have a chief executive that is willing and ready to do the needful in order to collect revenue, it's going to be very difficult. That's number one. Number two, we need the legal process. Tax is collection of revenue, collection, compulsory levy, and it must have law. It must be backed by law. It's not just somebody waking up and say, "Give me money." So there's a process. So you must have necessary legal structure in place. Why some of the states are not collecting is that you don't have the legal structure in place. So you must have the legal structure. The laws must be there. Lagos has been able to do wonderfully well because one of those things Lagos State did was to put in place appropriate legal structure to assist them to generate revenue, starting from making the Board of Internal Revenue autonomous. A law was passed to make it autonomous. Not only that, various tax collectible from the citizen were also passed into law. Okay, so having said that, then the structure itself, okay, you have to appoint people that are good at the job. No, don't bring in politics. You can use politics to do other businesses, but don't use politics to run revenue agency. Starting from the board itself, employ people, put people that are very good at revenue process and generation. The chairman of the board also must be a person that is seasoned in a tax administration and who has gotten the experience. You must also put in place appropriate human capital. Yes, properly compensated because you are competing with people. The taxman will also go to the market to buy things. If you pay the taxman poorly, then there could be element of corruption and water because he's going to go to the market to buy things like the banker. I'm not saying that the guy should be paid high killer salary, but he must be paid something that is commensurate to his job. Yes, qualification of the human capital. You must also use the appropriate technology. Okay, technology to drive the process. The staff must have appropriate equipment to do their job, from mobility to telecommunication and power. All this must be in place. Equipment needed for the guys, for the revenue authority guys to do their job. One, I said technology, the human capital, the board itself, the process must also be properly developed. Yes, everything has to do with process. How do we do it in a manner that it is seamless for the taxpayer? There must also be taxpayers' engagement. There must be proper communication between revenue authority and the government, as well as the taxpayer, especially as it relates to education. You have to educate them on what to do and how to go about doing the payments, how to go about paying. And you must also remind them of the obligation that they are not doing anybody any favor by paying their taxes. So there should be serious two-way communication process. They must be properly engaged. Yes, you have to talk to them. Not only that, you need collaboration with some of the stakeholders. Yes, when I say collaboration, the stakeholders are the taxpayers, professional associations, professional bodies, artisan bodies, and the man on the streets, so that everybody will be on the same page with you. One cannot clap with one hand. You need to collect money from people, but you have to carry them along. You must explain to them. Even if you have the best of the best internal process, even if you have deployed the best of the best, okay, and even if you have the best of anything that you can think of, even the legal process, you still need to talk to the people that will be paying. And let me talk about technology. Please, there's always a problem here. Technology depends on the problem we have on ground. Don't just go and import technology that they use in Ghana or Canada or UK and impose it in Nigeria or in Lagos or Osun or Kano. Technology must be the one relating to the level of development of the states and the revenue that you want to collect. Most times, most of the revenue agencies, they've gotten it wrong. Spend so much money to acquire technology that at the end of the day is not useful for them. So we need technology. Like I said, the chief executive officer, which is the governor, must be willing to buy the bullet and do the needful. Two, the board of internal revenue must be autonomous. The human capital, yes, that we need to use them must be experienced. They must be employed, devoid of politics. Appropriate technology must be acquired and deployed. Equipment needed to do the job. Light. If you go to some tax offices, you'll be surprised. You don't want to work there. Yes. Mobility, telecommunication. These are things that are necessary. Then internet. Let me say this, please. It's sad and painful that as we speak, you cannot pay online. Some state taxes. I run a firm in Lagos and we have clients want to pay from Lagos, want to pay with respect to taxes. Taxes due to some other state outside Lagos. But we find it difficult to pay because they don't have the platform. So a lot of revenue is being lost through that. If I want to send money to you, moderator, I don't need to waste my life. I just have your account number, do the needful, and you get the money.
And you put
So
the transfer.
Yes, it's transfer, and that is it. So we have issue with that. Technology, they need to put it, and the process. Okay, what works in Lagos might not work in Osun. What work in Osun might not work in Kano. So it's not if all fits. Something that fits everything. No, situation differs. You have to sit down, look at the political, social, economic indices of the states ever before you now decide on the kind of process you want to put in place, and even the taxes you want to collect. The fact that Lagos collect consumption tax doesn't mean that you are going to impose consumption tax in Borno, for
On
instance.
everybody.
And you're going to have the same level of achievement.
Very brilliant submission, Mr. Bicci Alli. I decided to make that because it's fundamental to the topic, and I can see the passion and the reason for your successes, both in Lagos, in Oyo, in Osun, with the submission that you have given. And that's why you are highly sought for among all professionals. You just gave it straight. The leadership must have the political will without any interference, the autonomy of the board, having a good legal process and structure, good remuneration with good qualification for the staff. And you spoke about technology, and I have this. I heard very clearly that we should domesticate the technology, not importing it. What is applicable for you is what you should use, and try to communicate and collaborate. Very brilliant submission, and this attests to the reason why you have been successful in some of the places where you have had the tax administration. This is an interactive session, and let me quickly go to one of our viewers who is asking this question. Peace is saying, sir, how possible in Nigeria context you want to domesticate it, just like you said now, for Nigeria, for the government not to interfere with the appointment of the board and the processes? How practicable it is in Nigerian context?
Well, it's very practicable, and the government must let me use the word interfere. When I talk about interfere, negatively interfering, the government will put in place the board itself. So the government needs money. The governor or the head of government is responsible for revenue generation. We cannot deny that the government and the head of government will be responsible for the board, as well as appointing the human capital that will see the objective of the board being achieved. What I try to put across that, sorry, I haven't done that. Government should not interfere in the process. Let them do their job. A very good example is Lagos. Okay, one had the opportunity of working in Lagos under Shuaju Fashola, the former governor, His Excellency Babatunde Fashola, His Excellency Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu. One thing I noticed that they never interfered in the process of revenue administration in Lagos State. What they did was to put in place a law, make sure that the appropriate human capital were employed, empowered the board to do its job, and they kept off. Okay, the only thing is that they set targets. They have to interfere. They set targets, they monitor the targets, and then they review regularly, and then we are compensated for whatever we did. If we do well, they compensate you. If you don't do well, one thing is this: you don't go to uh, His Excellency, the former governor of Lagos, Fashola, and tell him, please, can you assist me with this? Can you interfere in this process? He will tell you no. A very good example, one experience that we had once, and we can also share it here, was when I was honored and opportune to be the head of one of the units in LRS then that was responsible for monitoring consumption taxes. Eco Club happens to be a club of elites, Lagosians, and it's in Surulere. And for some reasons, they never comply with the consumption tax law in Lagos State. That time, we had issue with them. The father of the former governor, late Mr. Fashola, was also a member of that club. And I think he was an ESCO member, one of the senior members. So we went there to enforce, to shut the place down because they didn't comply. They thought, the operators, the management of that club felt that, well, let's call the father of the governor. He will talk to us. He will force us to open it. Yes, in actual fact, they called the old man. He's late now. They called him and he came. And he said, what was the problem? And we said they didn't comply. They never complied with the consumption tax law. We said, okay, is that the problem? We said, yes. The man asked us, how many padlocks did you bring? We said, like 6. He said, go and get the additional 6 and lock the place up. Yes. How do you want my son to succeed? Okay. If you are not willing to pay taxes, you have given him a job to do. He promised you to give you the quality education, build roads for you, do so many things. Yes, you need to give him the wherewithal to do the job. You need to give him the resources to do the job. One of the resources that he needs then was revenue. Without money, he cannot perform. And that was it. And nobody, sincerely speaking, dare go to Fashola or Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and tell them, please, can you help us in tax? Not at all. Not at all. So the ball was given.
That's
Mhm. That's a good. I
that
have
that
1,001 examples that one can cite relating to Lagos State experience, and the same thing goes for Oyo. When I was in Oyo, Ajimobi will tell you, sorry, go and pay your tax. He even said we should send land use charge bill to his own house. That if he doesn't pay, we should come and shut his house and we make noise about it. When I was in Oyo, we had to we shut down so many businesses owned by political leaders. And he said, go ahead and do it. He doesn't care.
That's a brilliant submission, a brilliant submission on that
That's what I
particular
meant by
aspect.
interference, yes.
Yeah, the political will on the part of the leadership and making the board very autonomous, which you have actually displayed, and that's why we see Lagos State Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, soaring higher day by day because of the autonomy and the structure in place. I need to ask this question, sir. Based on your practical knowledge and experience, can you educate our viewers? Is it true that poor tax administration has been responsible for corruption and revenue leakages across the 3 tiers of government?
Leakage, what are we dealing with when we talk about corruption and leakages? That means we are dealing with, yes, the process. It has more to do with the process. If the process is not good enough, then there will be room for corruption. One of the advantages of technology is that it eliminates human interference and discretion. When you have a process that relies very much on human interference and discretion, then it's prone to corruption. Is that okay? Yes. If at the end of the day I have to decide, it's me that decides what you pay, rather than the process ascertaining what you need to pay without any human interference, then you cannot eliminate issue of corruption. So the process must be well fine-tuned to identify likely corrupt practices, likely corruption points. Is okay, and put in appropriate technology to eliminate and reduce, sincerely speaking, human interference. When we have less of human interference, we are going to have less of corruption and less of leakages. I remember some years back. Yes, we need to educate ourselves on this. Some years back in Lagos State, then in the 80s and early 90s, people were bringing checks to the tax office, and the tax officer will collect the check, okay, and issue receipt. The tax officer will now take the checks to the bank to pay in. And along the line, because the guy has access to collecting checks, a lot of frauds were committed. Some of them set up companies or names, bank accounts in the name of the government, and they made themselves signatories. They were diverting checks because we have human interference. Somebody collecting the checks to go and pay to the bank. I think Asiwaju introduced, not I think Asiwaju introduced ABC then. I'm not talking about the political issue relating to ABC, whatever, they can handle their own case. But we cannot run from one fact that with the appointment of ABC then, payments were made directly to the bank, eliminating human interference of the cashier that has the opportunity to collect the cash. And receipts were also issued automatically by the banks. So that led to one blocking of that leakage. It was revenue was leaking like it was like perforated calabash.
like big baskets.
But, yes, it was like a big basket. Everything was good. Everybody was just stealing the money, right? But by the time a particular process was put in place, don't give money to anybody. Go to the bank and pay and get your receipts. That reduce and actually improve revenue. You won't believe it, by over 60%. But what was going into people's pockets, okay, has been, they stop it. Okay, and then is a process. Once you have a very good process in place that eliminates, yes, to the barest minimum, human interference and discretion. Anytime you have human discretion, there's element of corruption. So that's what I try to do. Anywhere we go, we try to eliminate that. The other one, which is more political question, is that poor administration. If we have an efficient revenue administration and people pay appropriate taxes, corruption will be reduced to the barest minimum because people want to ask questions, and the political process will be efficient. The difference between our own part of the world and advanced economy is that people pay taxes. The system tends to be efficient. They collect money from them. Yes, this process is very, very efficient. You pay what you are supposed to pay. And that is why you see them being seriously interested in governance. Here, because we don't pay taxes, I'm not saying we should pay more than what we are supposed to pay, please. But because we don't pay, so people just leave them. Oh, God will punish them, leave them into God's hands. But when you pay taxes, you understand me? Your church, my own mosque or Jamaat, when we contribute money in our churches and mosque for a particular project, and maybe the chief imam or the pastor misappropriate the money, what happens in the church? What happens? Even your association, there will be uproar. For me, I've always been an advocate of an efficient revenue administration process, believing that will assist us to have a more efficient democratic process and governance. Because we ask questions. Places that people vote now, after 4 years, nobody bothers again. Sorry, vote now, then wait until the next 4 years. Well, where you pay appropriate taxes, you ask questions. Your neighborhood association, if you pay for watchmen to take care of your, to watch over your property within your area, and if for whatever reason, maybe hoodlums or thieves broke into your house and removed the mirror of your car, the next morning you go to the landlord association, the chairman, and complain. And sorry, we are paying money and somebody has broken into my house. Okay, that's the other way to it. That's why I talk about people being involved. That will assist us to eliminate corruption and the leakage. However, the process itself must be in a manner that it eliminates human interference and to a very great extent, reduce human interference and eliminate human discretion.
Very brilliant submission, sir. Very brilliant submission. If we must take away corruption from our tax administration process, we must introduce a technology that will minimize human interference and eliminate, human, subjectivity in such a way that they have to now take discretion at any point in time. That's a very great one. Before I go on a short break, let me quickly take you on this particular question, sir. During your time in Lagos State, in the LIRS, many chartered accountants were engaged to assist the government in recovery tax liability from the defaulting organization and individual. How successful can you assess this scheme then?
Well, before I answer the question, we have to look at the objective and the background. What led to what? Why did the management of the then LRS decide to use accountants and tax practitioners in the process? Okay, we realized that around 2005, 6, a lot of people were not complying. They have their various reasons for not complying. They have their reasons. And we felt that, well, we need to encourage them and we must force them to comply. So relying on the power of the board to conduct audits, okay, we now ask ourselves, looking at the staff strength, can we do the job? You see, audit will be defeated if you only audit one aspect and you are not going to the other aspect. We needed audit then, sincerely speaking, deliberately for 2 reasons: to recover what is outstanding, which is huge, several billions of naira. Again, to also use that platform and the process to make sure that people do the needful and they do the right thing. So those are the basic, the basic objective then. Recover outstanding. Also use the platform to encourage people to embark on compliance. Those are the basic, the focus there. because we need to always situate why, objective, and were we able to achieve that? Then the next question we ask ourselves is this: can we, with our staff strength, be able to cover Lagos adequately well within the short period? The answer was no. Okay, fine. What do? We need to collaborate. Again, looking at our staff strength, we don't even have enough. That's number one. Number two, do we have enough staff strength that are capable, that have gotten the knowledge and skill to go about auditing and identifying tax infractions and liabilities? The answer again was no. So what do? Let's partner with accounting firm and tax practitioners. They've gotten experience, they have the technology, they have the staff strength.
It seems the
And we
network
can
is
work together with them.
okay. Proceed, sir. Proceed, sir. There was a little glitch with the internet on your side. Okay, while we're trying to fix that, let me quickly go on
The
a
accountants
very
were not
short.
recovering.
Okay. Sir, there seems to be a little interference on the
As
part
tests.
of the internet connectivity from your side. Let me quickly go on a
Okay.
short break while we fix that. We will be right back. So on this note, I've been guesting Mr. Bicci Alli FCA, a seasoned tax practitioner who has displayed to us here the reason for some of the successes he has recorded as an administrator and as a professional. But in no distance time, I will be giving him some questions that will open our eyes as professional accountant to the opportunity as tax administrator. I'll be right back.
As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized CIMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the CIMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the CIMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Tuesday edition of ICAN on Air. And we have been discussing the State Tax Administration opportunities for accountant. And I've been guesting an erudite scholar, a seasoned and fulfilling tax practitioner and accountant, Mr. Bicci Alli FCA. You're welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, still on the previous question I asked, you are talking about the
Yeah,
why,
okay.
the objective. So let me allow you
Yes,
complete
please.
your thought on that, sir.
Okay, like I was saying, yeah, the focus was basically to recover what was being owed and also use the platform to assist the taxpayer to put in place the appropriate structure and processes so that they might not even know what they are supposed to do. So that was the basic objective. Then we realized that we don't have the staff strength to do the job well. Not only that, some of our staff are not technically equipped to do the job. So we have to rely and work collaboratively with our chartered accountants and the tax practitioners. But we know some of them, they've gotten the technology, human capital, and the experience to do the job. But let me correct one thing. They were not responsible for collection and they were not
Okay.
responsible for assessment. They were assisting us to get information, data, which the Board of Internal Revenue then process and come up with assessment. The law is very, very clear. No other person, an individual, or an agency or body can assess, collect, and account for revenue except the Board of Internal Revenue and the staff of the Board of Internal Revenue. So it's always very painful when some consultant or accountant says they are helping state to collect revenue, you cannot collect. You can only assist to get information, data, turn over this information and data to the Board of Internal Revenue, and then over time they will come up with the assessment and then serve the assessment on the defaulting taxpayer. Having said that, if you are looking at did we, I mean, were we able to achieve the objective set out? And the answer is very yes, is a very big yes. In the first few years, we recorded several billions of naira, yes, from tax audit and debt recovery. We had a lot of money came in. That's one. Two, we're also able to push compliance because most of them realize that, oh, sorry, we're not doing the right thing, not because we don't want to do, we're not doing the right thing because we don't even know what to do. The audit process actually reveal to them what they should do and how to go about doing it. So while we're able to recover a lot of money from bad duty, we're also able to push compliance to a very high level. Before I left LRS, I don't know what obtains now. Audit accounted for less than 5% of the of the revenue of the board then, while compliance has gone up. So we're able to achieve that based on, I mean, the compliance went up and the audits. Yes, then we were still recovering money, but we couldn't compare, and we cannot compare what we recover initially when the audit started with what we recover in subsequent years, because the taxpayers actually, some of them actually learned their lessons, and then they increase the compliance level, especially the multinationals. Yes, they don't want to be embarrassed. Most of the oil companies, the banks, the multinational just okay, fine. It's not our money. It's not a tax imposed on our profits. It's tax on individuals, our employees. No problem. We deduct what is appropriate and render that to you. We aren't doing that because
Brilliant.
we don't know. Yes.
Hmm.
So I mean, we were able
That,
to
that,
achieve, but as time went by, the total contribution from audit reduced when compared with compliance because compliance now went up. So, and it was a very good opportunity for accountants. And a lot of them were able to, we were paying them 10% of whatever we recover through their
that, 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 that,
efforts. However,
that was
we were very, very
that was a
careful.
great, yeah, that was a great mileage that the professional in of our great institute have assisted the government in achieving their desired goal. Just like I said, that this session is always an interactive session. We have Mr. Abel as saying, Dr. Abel as saying, coming up with this question saying, many citizens often refuse to pay tax. You alluded to that, that if you compare that with that of the developed world, because they cannot see what the previous payments were used for. Since there is no direct relationship between tax paid and benefit enjoyed, how can we address the mindset as well as old tax administration to account?
Well, thank you very much. That question, I will look at it from the political point of view. We as citizens, we are responsible, okay, for the kind of leadership and the kind of process that we have in place. Yes, tax administration is one of them. We have to hold our leadership accountable, sincerely speaking, and that's the major issue. We need to hold them accountable for the responsibilities and duties that we have assigned to them. And it's so painful that we don't participate seriously in the political process. It's not only taking, contesting for an elective post alone, right? We need to criticize the government as the need arises. We need to demand from governments, okay, the appropriate services and responsibilities. Sincerely speaking, that's one area that we have lacked. And we just assume that, oh, sorry, God will punish them. Okay? Yes, it's not right. We need to participate. We need to ask questions. The last local government election, I was there. I participated. I voted. At my polling booth, we had less than a polling booth of about 500 registered voters, less than 50 came out to vote. They were not interested. And apart from that, we don't ask questions. And where you don't ask questions, the leadership will do whatever they want. The other climb that we compare ourselves with regularly, check the followership. They always put their leadership on their toes by asking questions. Yes, the minutest question, they ask them. And they are willing and ready to go on the streets. I'm not saying violently, though. Express their opinion and say, sorry, we are not going to take this. Look at what has happened around the world. In UK, the prime minister had to resign. It's not the time for election, but a lot of questions. People are asking questions. Apart from the electorate, voters asking questions, members of his executive were also asking questions that, sorry, I'm not pleased with what you are doing, Mr. Prime Minister. You appointed me to this position, but this is against my principle and against what my people want. A lot of them resigned. Yes, the issue, I've asked this question asked severally. Yes, we don't blame people for not doing the right thing. We blame ourselves for not asking questions and forcing them to do the right thing. Nobody wants to do the right thing. Nobody. I gave an example of our churches and mosques. We put pressure on the leadership of our churches and mosques. We put pressure on the leadership in our own family. We ask questions. Why can't we translate that? I'll give an example. Sorry to digress. I'm not a Christian, but I am married to a Christian, and I like some of the intervention the Christendom they've done in Nigeria. I went to one of the services, overnight service, New Year, one of the churches. From the logistics of parking to security, lighting, sincerely speaking, to television, to everything, it was like, sorry, this is not possible in Nigeria. It is possible because the people in that church decide to participate in running the process. Yes, go to most of the churches, the big ones. You see the logistics. You sit down and start monitoring. Are you sure this is Nigeria? During their service, the light will not go off for a minute. Look at the logistics in the Redeemed Church, in the Redeemed camp. They run their own electricity. The streets are clean. There's absolute security. I'm not a member of the Redeemed Church, but sincerely speaking, I envy them. I look at it. If the members of that church could run that small enclave or that small space efficiently and effectively, why can't we do that in Nigeria? The question is this: the people that run Redeem efficiently and effectively will not come out. Sorry, they will kill me. There are issues. Yes. But we are, and another thing that I want to say this, people may not like that. We are more interested in hereafter than here now. A lot of us will go to the church and pay our tithes, but we not pay our taxes. Forgetting the fact that the tithes that we are paying, we got it from the process that government has put in place for us to make money. You can say the process is not efficient, doesn't really matter. The fact is that you made the money. But rather than paying your taxes, you wouldn't mind paying. I'm not saying people should not pay tithes, so please don't misunderstand me. But people are really willing to pay tithes and be more interested in hereafter and not invest their time, energy, and money in here now. From where they are making the money. We don't participate. My guy that spoke, the former registrar, Dr. Isen, yes, I respect him. He has been part and parcel of training ICAN members over the years. The fact that he's still part of this program, I salute you. I'm highly encouraged. I mean, people that are elder citizens and I will quote, retired are part and parcel of it. But the fact remains that we can, like Awo said, leadership is a reflection of his followership. We can argue that followership is a reflection of leadership. Leadership is a followership, but you cannot eliminate the issue of followership in the whole process. Thank you very much.
Very brilliant one. And we have been challenged as professionals to participate in the political space, ask questions, be more accountable in some of the things we should do. We should not be more of hereafter. It should be now, and pay our tax
Yeah.
regularly. Before we coast home, let me quickly attend to the question from eBay. Corruption, insincerity in the part of the government, lack of accountability and transparency in the utilization of tax revenue has discouraged a lot of compliance from willing taxpayer. How can taxpayer gain confidence in the tax administration of the country? I think Mr. Bicci Ali has done justice to that. Let's participate. Let's get involved. Let's ask questions for the accountability of some of the problems. Let me take this one by Olujide Ojo. He is asking, sir, what control is being put in place to curb some of the tax officers who receive huge amount of money from company during tax audits and advise them to pay a token into the government account for tax clearance?
Well, sorry, it takes two to tango. Okay, it takes two to
Hmm.
tango. Yes. Okay. So you can't advise me to do the wrong thing, right? Usually, it's the fact that the guy during tax audit, if you come and you can't find anything incriminating against me or against my company or against my clients, you can go ahead and write your report. Is that okay? The facts speak for
Hmm.
itself. We'll go ahead and dispute your reports. We put our facts and figures forward, and I know for sure the law is very clear. Okay, there are checks and balances in our revenue law. Yes, though we have human beings, practicing some of these things, but there are check and balance. Once you are sure of your position, you can insist. You have the tax appeal tribunal that will look into the case. If you are not satisfied, you can still go to court. You can go to high court. If you are not satisfied, you can go to court of appeal. I remember a particular case of Mr. Jegede of Ijiwere and Co. A local government, I think, was it Tiosa, they imposed an illegal tax, okay, in Ikota. And the gentleman, an accountant, a chartered accountant, went to court and said, sorry, the local government does not have the power to collect this revenue. Okay? He won the case. The local government appealed. The local government lost at the appeal, level. And yes, so we need to challenge some of these things. The guy that want to take money from you knows that you have committed an offense.
Yeah, he's seeing a
Okay.
loophole. He's seeing a loophole.
Since what I've
He's
done.
seeing.
Yes, I know some people will come up with bogus figures. We've seen that severally. Yeah, and so many, some of them will just come and tell you undisclosed income, undeclared income. Ask you, what was the source of your undisclosed income? What's the source of your yes, let's have the source. Okay, let us verify it. Once we're able to verify it, then we can say, okay, we'll pay. But once we don't have it, corruption is aided because, sorry to say this, the other party doesn't want to do the right thing. And then they also take
You
advantage of
can
people's feelings.
you can say
Always in a
that.
hurry. Yeah. And we're also in a
You
hurry.
can
I don't
say
want
that
to,
again. So both party must be able to just do what is needful and do what is
yeah.
as we are costing them, sir. As we are costing them, I just want you to give an advice and counsel to chief executive of local government, of state and the federal level on the economic need to engage professional accountant in order to enhance their the jurisdiction of tax administration and efficiency to boost their revenue. Just your word of advice in closing, sir.
Well, by our training, yes, we know the facts. We are trained to recognize and identify opportunities. That's our background. And we are also very good, we have very solid training in taxation. We have very solid training in economics. We are not economics. Some of us had first background economics, but the economic ability. So if you look at revenue administration generally, Yes, we can use accountants at various levels, and you can be rest assured they will contribute meaningfully. Me, I always look at accountants' responsibility and duties from two perspectives. Okay, I look at the one that is general and the other one that is more specific. General has to do with one, the government itself. Yes, starting from the chairman of local government and the governors of the state, as well as the president, you need to use accountants in some areas as commissioners, special advisors, yes, commissioner for finance, commissioner for economic planning, so that they have the experience, so they can assist in dictating the revenue policy of the states. Apart from that, you have the legislature. Yes, they need to use accountants in various level committees. Okay, the public accounts committee, the finance committee, because at the end of the day, you are still going to bring suggested tax law so the house for them to deliberate upon. So we have opportunities there. Within the board itself, the board membership, the membership of the board, okay, the membership of the board, the government can use, because most laws, state law, always make provision for the appointment of experienced seasoned accountant and the tax practitioner to be part and parcel, to be members of the board. They make sure that accountants are there. The chairmanship of the board itself, yes, we don't want to say this, but it's so sad and disheartening that some of the state board of internal revenue, you'll be shocked that they have engineers as chairman of the board of internal revenue. Don't let me go into that area. And then what do you
Of
expect an
course,
engineer in
to
that area?
do in
He
the area
will not.
of finance.
So you
Uh,
need to appoint seasoned accountants, okay, to do that. And the human capital
Sincerely speaking,
at the board
Mr.
level.
Bicci Alli, uh,
Yes, please.
time is not just on our side. I must be candid.
Okay.
But one thing I can assure you, this is not the end of this on this topic. You have opened our eyes as professional accountant on some of the opportunity that we need to tap into. And in your concluding word, you have actually advised the government on the steps they need to take by engaging us in some strategic position if they need to drive their revenue up. And I know there is still a lot inside of you to dish out, but this time is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
always our
Mhm.
friend, but we'll look out for ways to make it. One thing I can assure you is that we will be contacting you in no distance time, and I can assure even our audience, our listeners, our viewers, that Mr. Bicci Alli will be coming again, even to talk to us. So, on this note, let me quickly appreciate our guest for today, who have done justice to the topic, and to all our viewers who are the reason for our gathering here every Tuesday and Thursday. One thing I keep saying is that make it a point of duty to invite someone to be part of ICAN on air for the educative section, for the enlightenment that you get, and to enrich your knowledge base. You can only get it from ICAN on air, powered by our institute, the Institute of Chartered Accountant of Nigeria. And before I go, let me quickly remind us that the Institute 52nd Annual Accountant Conference will be coming up on the 10th to 14th of October. You need to start preparing yourself, because that's another place where you are going to have the enriched knowledge that is expected of you. Till I meet you again on Thursday, make sure that you stay connected to ICAN on air. And I remain your anchor, Olusesan Okunade FCA. See you again on Thursday, the 14th day of July. Bye for now.